Welcome to this very windy episode of One More Round. I think if we survive this, Simone, then I think we've achieved something great. But on today's One More Round, we have Simone Vincenzi. Now, Simone, like me, he has many hats, but I always say it's the same head, you know. And so, you know, this guy who writes for Forbes, he turns experts into authorities. He's the founder of GTEx. I think Simone, whenever I introduce people, sometimes what they do or their company name is obvious and it says exactly what it is on the tin. But what is GTEx?
GTEx, a lot of people think that GTEx is a tech company. Actually, it's not. And a lot of people told me to change the name because it sounded like a tech company. But GTEx stands for Growing Together Exponentially. Because when me and my business partner sat down to create a company, we look at what was important for us. Mm-hmm. And we both wanted to grow. We both wanted to create a community, so do things together. And then we also believed in exponential growth, which means putting the work in to then have that exponential results. And we believe in that. So that's how we decided to put the name and call the company GTEx, which is Growing Together Exponentially.
Yeah, it's really important for businesses to be able to story tell. I think even the name of their brand, so that it really resonates. So that's a nice story, you know.
Thanks.
And what it stands for, you know, is something that I think is really meaningful. Simone, in terms of you as a person, because I'm a big believer in putting the human side of a business to the forefront of what we do. How would you I guess summarize who you are? Who is Simone?
Simone is crazy. Simone is driven. So I have to summarize Simone. He's an incredibly driven person. I love to experience. I love to live experiences in my life. And I love to give everything I've got in what matters to me. So I'm the kind of person that if something, I don't like it, I don't even do it. I don't even look at it. But if something I'm passionate about, I can get obsessed. And I want to become the best I can be. So for example, that happens in my speaking business. I mean, I was talking before, I run more than 200 events every single year. I've been doing that for the past 4 years in a row now. 200 events a year. I play basketball. So now I play professional in the 4th division. Yeah, man, woohoo! Then I play also different instruments. I play didgeridoo, which is an Australian Aboriginal instrument, and also I started playing the handpan.
Handpan?
Handpan, yeah, it's called also, it's a steel drum.
Okay, so it's like bongos.
It's kind of bongos, but made of steel.
Okay.
And you tap, and every tap is a different note around the drum.
Okay. So
the aim now is to play the didgeridoo and the handpan at the same time.
At the same time?
Yeah, that's what I'm going on, man.
Wow.
Don't do things halfway.
That's insane. If you wanted the world to pin one like word or facet to you, what would be that one word that you want the world to own and associate with Simone?
Persistence.
Okay, can relate to that.
Persistence. I mean, my wife said this to me.
Yeah.
I'm the most persistent person that she knows. I got a lot of people that say that to me too. Just to consider that when I met my wife, she didn't even want to date me. She didn't like me. She didn't fancy me. She said from the very beginning, we are only going to be friends. And I said, yes, of course. But of course I had my own agenda. And after 1 month of literally popping up every now and then, I wasn't stalking her. Because there is a very fine line between... No, I'm Italian, we are romantic, we like to do things in a different way. So I was popping in, I knew where she was, and I was popping in with a rose, and I was popping in with a flower. I was sending the text message, I was sending the video. I knew she was coming back from an holiday, and I got at the airport to pick her up without her knowing it. So a lot of things, and after more than a month of that, then she gave up. And she decided, okay, maybe I fancy you now, maybe. And that's history. And I think that's because I love sales as well, and sales is all about persistence.
Mm-hmm.
You have a sales meeting and you have someone saying, you know, I don't want to buy, I'm never going to buy, I'm not going to work with you. And then 10 minutes later, they come up with a form signed. So I'm not the kind of person who takes no for an answer.
Yeah. I love that, because even though your story, especially with your wife, is kind of humorous, it's also really true of the fact that, I mean, we like to know we matter, don't we? The fact that you went to so much effort, you know, that I think I did a short video on Instagram, which was beauty without intelligence is ugly, you know, and I think you really won your wife through your intellect in terms of making her feel like she was something, and that's literally, if sales is done in the right way, not in a manipulative way, because the reality is you married this woman, you know, so it wasn't that you were just on an agenda just to appease your ego. You actually fulfilled that, you know, because that's the danger, isn't it? When somebody knows the mechanics of how to get something, that they manipulate that.
I also think that I mean, that's how I am. If I don't, as I said before, if I don't care about something, I'm not even going to do anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
But if I care about it, then I'm going to give all I've got. And I just don't want to live with the regret of maybe could have done something more.
Mm-hmm.
At the moment I stop is the moment where I said, I've done enough. That's it.
Yeah, you're done. I know one of the things that we were talking about off there, which I found really intriguing, and I thought was really kind of poignant, was the fact that you said that there's certain things that drive you based on whether somebody else has it or not. Maybe explain that a little.
Yeah. Have you ever heard about the phrase of keeping up with the Joneses?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm the perfect example of that. Not because I want to appear. I have no interest in appearing. But I get annoyed when a lot of other people around me have something that I value and I don't have it. And instead of being jealous, I'm not the kind of person who would be jealous, but it pushes me to actually get the thing done. So we're giving the example of when I wrote my first book at 23 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason why I wrote the book is not only because I wanted to write a book. Actually, I hate writing. However, a lot of other people around me in the entrepreneurial circle had a book. And I felt I was left out. So I put my head down, and then within 30 days I wrote and published a book, and then I got done with that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like this in other areas, even sales.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't have a lot of money in my account, that's where I sell the most, or where the company needs to create more sales. That's where I perform at best.
Mm-hmm.
But if things are very comfortable, then I get comfortable too.
I know you're a self-educated man. We already talked about the fact you've wrote a book. If there was a book and a business tool that you've kind of really used for your own benefit, what would those be?
I've got many I can share. A book that I loved, and I think is not a business book, but it can be applied to business.
Okay.
It's called The Richest Man in Babylon.
Okay.
Have you ever read the book?
No, I've heard of it.
So Richest Man in Babylon is a book about financial education. And the problem that I had was that I was really good at making money. I've been always good at making money since I was young. But I was very bad at keeping money. So I was making a lot of money and I was spending it all. And The Richest Man in Babylon is a book that tells true stories how you can manage your finances. And it's a story.
Beautiful.
And then you run through it. So that's a great book that I recommend.
And then just finally a business app or a business tool that you've used in terms of, you know, your own business or your own life that you're like, this is pretty solid.
Business tool that I absolutely love is Help a Reporter Out.
Yes.
I think it's brilliant. You can write pieces of PR and get in touch with journalists with hundreds of journalists every single day automatically. So if you want to expand your message and grow your business in that way, write for even major publication like Forbes, Entrepreneurs, Inc. You will always find writers and journalists that are looking for resources. I love that. Help a reporter out.
Yeah, lovely. Cool. I know for many of you, you are perfectionists. You want everything to be perfect before you do anything, and done is always better than perfect. But I am what you call a progressionist. I believe in progressing, and I've actually helped people who are perfectionists find freedom in the fact that the perimeter is whether you are better than yesterday, is whether you're improving professionally on all that you do and say, and actually find the enjoyment of progressing rather than being perfect. It's very liberating. So join me and be a progressionist and not a perfectionist. The whole premise of this show, Simone, One More Round, is to really get inside, people's heads and inside their stories, to really inspire and educate, for it to be both human but also practical. When you think of One More Round, what does it conjure up, in your mind when you hear that? What thoughts and feelings does it, bring?
As I said before, I'm the kind of person that I give all I've got, and so one more round, I think, has been a theme in my life. As I said, I'm very persistent, and sometimes you want to get something in life, and you just got to push and push and push. So, for example, I remember when I started my business, that was a very long one more round, because I didn't have a clue about what I was doing. I didn't have any money. I didn't have any clients, and I kept going and going and going, and I arrived to the point where I was questioning myself, am I fit for this? Because I've been working at my business for 3 years, and if I was making £500 a month, it was a good month. And I ended up even like living on the street for about 6 months while I didn't have any money. So it was a lot of self-doubt there. But then there was this voice in my head that was saying, no, just keep going. It's the right thing. And then I kept going. So instead of one more round, there were 10 rounds. 10 more rounds. And I think it's been a theme throughout all my life.
In your life, yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because I'm also persistent, and it's interesting because we are all or nothing. And I think, that one of the interesting dynamics is sometimes in life, there's that sense of knowing when to push, and actually accepting the fact that maybe this isn't, the path or the journey that I'm to go down. How do you pivot with that?
I think I check in with myself. So there are a few things that I do. I'm a big importance of knowing my values. I know what's important for me. And so I always check before making a decision, is it in alignment with what's important for me? I know that for me it's important to grow, it's important to connect with people, it's important to be honest, it's important to be fair, it's important as well to perform and to perform at my best. So I always ask myself, is this decision in alignment with what's important for me? That's the first check, which is more logical than anything else. And then I also check with my feelings. So does it feel right? So if I give again the example of when I went on TEDx and I did my TEDx talk, I sent about 85 applications to apply for a TEDx talk, and within those 85 applications, I got I only had 24 responses. And the 24 responses, 23 of these were no's. But it felt that it was the right decision for me. I wanted to do it. I wanted to do it so badly, and I wanted to be there. So I kept going. And then I said, no, it's not time to quit. I need to do something more. And I remember that the 23rd rejection was actually a friend of mine that was running a TEDx event. He said, I cannot get you in because your application sucked, but I can give you feedback so you can get another one. So he gave me brilliant feedback on how to write the application. And then I wrote the 24th application, like the last one, and that got me in.
Yeah.
So I think that sometimes you're just very close to that breakthrough that we have, or maybe that connection that we need for things to work out. And that's how I check in. It doesn't feel right for me.
Yeah. I guess there's a couple of things there. The one is sometimes you just need to know the right way to go about something to make it work for you.
Yeah.
The other thing, actually, I mean, I love TEDx as well, but actually, without having a dig, there's a part of their structure that seems very. They kind of want to push you down avenues that are kind of uniformed to their brand, and actually, I think it reduces some of the emotion and some of the authenticity with delivering your message. Because I've also been through the process. I've only tried, I think I've tried twice, and equally haven't been successful.
Yeah.
I mean, 23, 24, I guess for me, I am persistent. It's like, but sometimes it's like if somebody doesn't want me, then, you know, I'm out. I guess I'm a little more like that. But you know, when you go through challenges, what makes you keep going? Like, I mean, 23 times. I mean, people that do their driving test, and I had a neighbour, and she passed on her 7th go. I'm like, 7? I passed on my 3rd go, and that was torture. Like,
Yeah.
Why do you keep going in life? And what are some of the practical things that you do when you run up against something that's knocked you, flat?
There are 2 reasons why I keep going. One is for myself. I don't know, I'm this kind of, and it's a blessing and a curse at the same time, but I'm this kind of type A, ultra overachiever personality. And if I don't achieve, I die inside. So for me, there is this, I just feel pleasure in getting things done, in achieving greatness, in being recognized by other people and being recognized by myself. So all the things that some people would see it as difficult to attain, that's what moves me to say, I've proved myself I can attain those things. Mm-hmm. So one is, and it's a blessing and a curse at the same time, because sometimes I can drive myself, I can work myself to the ground. Mm-hmm. We had a chat before. I just came from 2 hours sleep, and I was working up until 5 o'clock yesterday morning. I woke up at 7. So, but that's one is to prove to myself that I can do it. So it's a big ego thing there, and my ego is really big. I know that. I'm in peace with it, and that's okay. But that's how I keep feeding it. The other reason why is my family. Now, my father was an alcoholic, and my mom grew me and my brother and raised me and my brother up with literally almost nothing. And she never made us feel we had nothing. And I've seen all that my mom had to go through to protect me, to protect my brother, to make sure that we could live a great childhood, that nothing was missing. And I think that a big example is to give back to her, to show my mom that all she did, because she gave up all her entire life, all her entire career for me and my brother. She had a brilliant career. She gave it all up for me and him. Mm-hmm. And right now is at an age where it's more difficult to get it back. And she was incredibly driven, and she gave up for us. She gave it up for us. So on the other side is to show her my gratitude, my appreciation, and to show her that she did something worthwhile.
Beautiful. That's a lovely story, and what a great mom you have. The fact that
because she rocks.
She rocks. I guess the thing for me is, I've always said, I have 3 children myself, as you know. I'm not prepared to sacrifice being the greatest mentor, I can be, if it means that I can't be the greatest, dad that I can be. And we're all driven by something. I love the fact that the thing that keeps you moving forward, is the upbringing in which your mom kind of created this culture for you, and how you then want to feel that and feel that for your own family. And it's also refreshing that you can own the fact that, and you can be comfortable in saying, I have an ego, and I feed it, because people tend to deny it or don't really own who they are. And I love that self-awareness.
I think that there is this. I'm a lot into meditation and spirituality and all these kind of things, and there is this big quest of, get rid of the ego. Ego is bad. Actually, ego is what get us where we are. I mean, if you want to live as a monk and meditate 24 hours a day, do that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I had an experience where I went to a retreat called Vipassana. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
No, I've not.
There's a retreat where you stay in silence and meditate 12 hours a day for 10 days. There is no eye contact, no physical touch, no talking with anyone else. You just stay in silence for 10 days. Now, I think it was one of the best experiences of my life. But if you want to dedicate your life to meditation and to getting rid of your own ego, do it. But we navigate our world through our egos, and I think that having an awareness of who we are, how we behave, and not all parts of my egos are good. There are good parts, there are bad parts, but as long as I'm aware, I can manage it in a way, or I can feed the part of my ego that will have a positive outcome, if it makes sense.
I think there needs to be some education on ego, because when you hear it, you tend to have this real negative stigma, don't you? And I do think there needs to be some education on that. It's the same when somebody says, I'm scared, you automatically think they're scared like physically rather than emotionally. And so there's got to be some education around that. But I love the fact that you're man enough and you own that, because I think in order to do anything in life, you've got to be comfortable in your own skin, and you've got to own who you are, so that people can really connect with that and find it liberating.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I love attention. Like, for me, I wouldn't say necessarily ego, because I'm a big believer in, not wanting to belittle other people and inflate myself, which I think sometimes ego can do that. But for me, having that ability, just to keep moving forward, I think is really important. Now, we only get one shot at this life, as you know, Simone. What made you decide on the path that you took? Like, how did it kind of come full circle for you?
I used to work in a restaurant. So when I was 14, I started working in a restaurant, and I absolutely loved it. And I worked so hard that at the age of 19, I actually worked in more than 200 different restaurants. And I was managing my first Michelin star restaurant. So at 19, I became the youngest Michelin star restaurant manager in Europe. At 21, I got a job offer in the UK to work in a Michelin star in London. Now, bearing in mind, I couldn't speak a word of English. No, I couldn't speak English. I could ask, what would you like for dinner? Like, what would you like to order? Do you need a spoon? These are the only words that I could actually say. So everything that was catering related. And then when I was 22, 23, I got bored. I find this story like I got frustrated. I hated my job. No, I loved what I was doing. But I got bored because there was nowhere else I could go. And I need to perform. I need to be the best. And I reached the top. I was managing Michelin star restaurants. What else do you do as a restaurant manager? So I started attending different seminars to see what else was available, because I didn't have a degree at that point. I quit my university to work in restaurants. My mom wasn't impressed with that, as you can imagine. It's like, Mom, I'm not taking a degree because I want to work in restaurants. She wasn't impressed, definitely. But I was working. I went to different seminars, and one day I said, "That's what I want to do. I want to speak. It sounds like the best job in the world. You change people's life. You're on stage all the time. What's better than that?" And that's how it started right now. So it became very difficult to start my speaking career and my coaching career. And then I work with the hundreds of people. We built a company in the multiple six figures, and a lot of people started asking, how do we do what we do? So then we change, helping turning experts into authorities now.
Beautiful.
Showing what we've done.
So practically, how do you do that? What are some of the pivotal things that you express in terms of taking experts and turning them into authorities? How do you practically do that?
Well, there are 4 things that are really important. One is to have a clear business model, because an expert business is a business. So every good business needs to have a solid business model. So having a solid business model, then having a unique signature program, a unique offer, which is something that makes you stand out from everyone else. Then the pitch that is able to attract not only the ideal clients, but also media appearances coming to you. And then the 4th part is your exposure on social media. How well do you navigate your different social media platforms and the amount of followers that you have? So if you're focusing, you are an expert in your field and you're focused on having a strong business model, being clear about what you're doing, having a program that makes you unique, building your audience on social media, and building also a great pitch to get media appearances and great clients, then you can turn your expertise and make really good money from it.
Like that. And we all need that. In terms of, there's so much noise, so much content out there. We already had a bit of a joke about, coaches are just popping up like mushrooms.
We had a mushroom. There was a mushroom on there.
We've seen a few on the field. For me, because there is so much noise, what is your one top tip in terms of how do I really and generally distinguish myself against others?
Yeah, it's about credibility. Are you walking your talk? This is the main thing. The problem in this industry is that there are a lot of people that are teaching things just because they've read in books, not because they can prove real results for them or their clients. So my recommendation is, before you go into this industry, show the results, that you can prove results. For example, when I started even my first coaching business, I did more than 100 free sessions just before I started getting paid, just to prove to the world that I was good at what I was doing. Well, and there are people that will say, "Oh my God, I need to do 100 sessions, 100 things without getting paid." Like, yeah, you do. When I was in restaurant, I worked in about 10 or 15 different restaurants for free, for the same reason. So show that you're walking your talk, and the rest will come together.
Yeah, and take every opportunity as a learning. One of my favorite things my dad used to say is, "Eat the meat, spit out the bones." So take the good, take every experience and glean as much from it, and then ditch the carcass, and move on. How do people find out more about you, Simone? How do they come and hear you speak? How do they get involved, with GTEx? How do they enter your world?
Thank you for asking. So you can get in touch with me. Go on the website, which is www.gtex.org.uk, and then we have also a podcast called the Explode Your Expert Biz Show. So it's the Explode Your Expert Biz Show. You can find the interview that we did together as well with Mark in that show. You can find it on your favorite podcasting platform.
Thanks for being on One More Round.
Thanks.
So just reflecting on that interview with Simone Vincenzi, which I absolutely loved, I think one of the key things that Simone really articulated and brought across was the importance of persistence. It's something that I really relate to as well, the ability to really go after something despite obstacle, despite challenge, despite setback. It's not veering off course just because you hear a no. 23 times he applied to be on TEDx, and it wasn't until the 24th time that he got accepted. But he also needed the wisdom and the knowledge of how to write an application that did appeal to TEDx. So sometimes it's not the issue of whether you should or shouldn't do something. Sometimes it's in the how, and sometimes it pays to actually find out what it is you need to do in order to go and get what it is that you've set your heart on.